Hello, let's move to next topic. In previous session, we already completed while loop. Okay, so based on our previous topics and our roadmap that we are following, these are the topics we already covered. Now let's move to the next topic, that is list. We are on the first chapter. There are 8 chapters in this book. So that is, I'm already working from quite a long time. So now um, we starting the next topic, that is fifth section. You can uh, call this fifth section because we are already inside a chapter. Okay, so let's move and start with list. So lists are basically, consider these as if you want to store multiple values. So if I tell you that I have to store a number, I'm going to use a variable. I'm going to store 10, for example. If I tell you now I want another number to be stored in it, so I'm going to take another variable, then take another. And how many times we can use these type of variables? So many times. Okay, we can. The challenge will be here. Um, challenge here will be these a, b, and c. These type of variables, we cannot remember them. Cannot remember all of them because after we used all alphabets, now we need some different name for that variable. So now I want to store multiple values, but at the same time, I want to store it in such a structure that it should be efficient when I access that value. Okay, so I'm not going to use these variables multiple times because all these variables are individual variables. I want these variables to be stored in a structure, in a structural way. Okay, so if you studied array for the first time in previous languages, so array is a collection of similar type of elements, but in Python, everything is object. Okay, so if I use list is an object. We already know this by using different variables. So if I use a equals to 10, if you check the type of it, you will get class int, correct? If I use a is equals to Indore, the type will be class str. Okay, so everything is an object in Python. Okay, so this is the design pattern of Python. Okay, now I want to store multiple values in a single structure, and that structure will be a list. Okay, so now if you want to create a list, you can use square brackets, correct? If you use a square bracket, the still list will be created. List is just a object that store different type of elements. Okay, list is an object that store different type of elements. That means you can store integer, string, float, boolean, everything at the same time in a single list. Okay, so let's use or store some variables or some values inside it. So I'm using 10, 20, and 30. Okay, so these three values will be stored in a list, and if I'm if I want to print this list, I'm going to use L. L is just a variable. You can use any variable here. Okay, if I want to check the type of this list, what will be the type of the list? So it will be class list. Okay, so if I run this, you will see that if you print the value, it will print the whole list, and if you check the type, it will give you class list, same as class int, class str, class float, etc. Okay, so this is how list work. You can store multiple type of values inside it. For example, if I store 10, then I stored Indore inside it, then I stored um, true inside it, then I stored um, 11.5 inside it. Okay, so these are multiple values If you want to print the value, you can use this. This is still a list. If you check the type of this list, it is still a list. Okay, so you can use multiple values here, multiple type of values, and you can store all the values inside it. Okay, this is a good way how we store them. There's a way how we are storing them, these values. So consider this as a book which contains different chapters in it. Now we want to access any chapter. So if you want to access any chapter in a book, you can access that through index. Okay, so in the same way, all these variables, all these values have an index in list. Okay, what this means? This means that when I use any list, for example, if I write 10, 20, 30, capital A, or whatever type you are using. Okay, every element comes with a index. Okay, what this means? This means that the 0th value or the first value, that is 10, the index of the first value will always be 0. Okay, what this means? You can access these values using this indexes. Okay, these are index. Okay, you call them index. This index means if I want to access the value 30, okay, the index is 2. So I'm going to use this statement. So you can read this like L of 2. Okay, L of 2. So if you run this, it will print 30. Okay, so if you run this, you will get the value like this. Okay, so let me use one more thing. List of 0. Okay, so list of 0. What value is stored on 0th index? It's 10. Okay, so if you run this, it will print 10. Okay, so these are indexes. You're going to use these indexes and going to access these values. Just like a book, you use the indexes to access that chapter. Same as the book, we can access these values. So if I want to access A, so I'm going to pass 3. 3 is the index of capital A. Okay, you can consider these values as variables. So in previously we can use different variables for storing different values, right? This is how we are storing different values in different type of value, different variables with different name. Okay, but in list, if you can consider this as this, so I'm using a list, and this 0th index represent 10, this first index represent 20, this third index or second index will represent 30. Okay, so you can consider these as the variable name. Okay, so all the name is same, but the index will change for different values. Okay, so this is how list works. I'm not going to comment. Let me comment this. So this is, you can compare these values. These are just variables, and all the variables are collectively stored in the list data structure. Correct? So this is the index. You can use this index. Let me check some of the values. If I use this, let me print the value of list. So list value is this. You know the indexes. There are different indexes starting from 0. So 0 is the default index. Okay, so we are going to use 0. 0 is the default index. Okay, now if I want to assign some value inside any index, for example, if I want to store 100 on the place of 0th index. Okay, so will this work? Yes, it will work. It will work. If you run this, the 10 will be replaced with 100. So if you run this, you will get this. So this property is called mutability, or this particular object is mutable object. Okay, you can say list is mutable object. Okay, list is a mutable object. Mutable means changeable. You can access any value and you can replace that value or change that value. It's called mutable. Okay, we'll talk about mutability little more later in the sessions, but this is the property. You can replace any value. Now this will come with one more thing. Now we know zeroth index is this, 1 2 3 4. Fourth index is this. If I assign any value on the sixth index that is not available, for example 400, will this work? This will not work. Okay, if you run this, it will give you an error. What is the error? This is an index error. Obviously there is no index available with the name 6, so list assignment index out of range. That means your range is from 0 to 4, but it is not working properly, or it is not assigning value on the 6 because there is no index available already. Okay, so this will not create a new index. Okay, this will not create an index like this. Okay, so that it can replace the value, right? So it will work like this. Okay, so these are some concepts you should know about list. And let me use some more things. For example, if this is my list, if you run this, you will get this. Okay, now I'm going to use this particular list again like this. And as we already know, we have 0, then 1, then 2, 3, and 4. These are my indexes. Okay, in list there are negative indexes also. Okay, so what are negative indexes? So last value, the index of last element will be -1. You can consider this as number line. Okay, so this is my number line from left to right. When you go right to left, the indexes will be negative. So this will be -2. Okay, this will be -3. Okay, this will be -4, and this will be -5. Okay, these are my negative indexes. So let's print some values. If you print the list, still this is same. Okay, if you want to print the last value, you can use -1. -1 will represent the last index. Okay, that means if you run this, 22.5 will be printed. Okay, 22.5 will be printed. Okay, now let's print some more value. If I write list of -4, what will be the output? 20. So now the question is, if I print list of 1, what will be the output? And if I print list of -4, what will be the output? In both the cases, output will be 20. Okay, so if you run this, okay, so if you want to use negative indexes, you can use this. So this is a new feature. This is not available in arrays generally. So this is a new feature this list comes with. So now this is how lists work. And yeah, negative indexes, we already know this. If I want to replace values, you can do that as well with the negative indexes. So why are negative indexes available here? Because you can work from right to left as well. Generally, everything works from left to right. If you want to access the list from right to left, because this particular list cannot be a small list. It can be a very big list. Okay, if you're working on big systems and big data structures and big big softwares, so you're going to store multiple values. It can be in the database, or you are getting values from user, or you are performing any analysis on it. Okay, so you can use this, and that's it. These are some basic concepts of lists. And yeah, so let's move to the next topic. In the list, we will going to work on different questions we can um, solve through lists. Every section of each chapter, I'm covering different questions for it. You can practice those questions. So these questions are for building logics. So that's it. This is our basics. Let's move to the next topic.